Hello then, thank you for staying with us right here on Voice of the People, 92.3 FM. This is the World News right here. My name is Esther Wachiku, and here are the top stories. Conclave elects new Pope. Senate passes all President Tinubu's tax reform bills. The Nigerian army kills IPOB leader, arrests Gunrunner, Buhari, others. In a very recent development as well, court Kanu's broadcast, according to the court, linked a killing of Goodluck Jonathan's ex-aide, others. In a very unfortunate development, Onekri enlists Julius Saburi as Labour Party chairman following court order. Also, Abgar adopts Tinubu as presidential candidate for 2027 elections. President Tinubu demands stiff enforcement of child protection laws. And top APC chieftains meet in Abuja speak on leaving party. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. Cardinals have selected the 267th leader of the Catholic Church. Also, the white smoke rose above the Sistine Chapel, the signal that cardinals have chosen a new pope on the second day of the conclave. His identity and the name he will take as pontiff will be revealed very soon. There are 133 voting cardinals who had all been sequestered inside the Vatican during the conclave. Any one of them needed 2/3 of the vote to become the next pope. During the papal conclave, the cardinals were barred from leaving or having any contact with the outside world as they selected the next leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. The new pope will emerge onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica to greet his flock. Rapturous applause, yelling and plenty of tears in St. Peter's Square at the sight of white smoke. Also, it happens to be that Rosalia Cordero, 42-year-old from Brazil, was weeping while embracing a group of friends concerning the new emergence of a new pope. Revenue Service Establishment Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, and the Nigerian Tax Bill. The four executive bills seeks to transform and modernize the tax system in Nigeria. On Wednesday, Senate President Godswill Akpabio described the bills as a step in the right direction. Meanwhile, Nigeria has paid back all its outstanding debts owed to the International Monetary Fund and existed the list of debtors to the organization. Well, you know that as of 2023, Nigeria's IMF debt stood at $1.61 billion. Well, through a repayment plan initiated by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the debt steadily declined, reaching $472 million by January 2025, has now been fully paid off as of May 2025. This development was confirmed in the latest report from the IMF website, which shows Nigeria is no longer included on the list of nations indebted to the International Monetary Fund. The debt-free status of Nigeria was also confirmed by the Senior Special Assistant to President Tinubu on Digital Engagement and Strategy, Ortega Ogra, via a statement released on his X account. Now, the trial of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, resumed today at the Federal High Court in Abuja, with fresh allegations brought forth by Department of State Services. Kanu is facing terrorism and treasonable felony charges, with the DSS testifying that Kanu's broadcast led to the death of several individuals, including former senior special advisor to ex-President Goodluck Jonathan Ahmed Gulak. The DSS official who resumed his testimony as a second prosecution witness revealed that Kanu's calls for sit-at-home orders in southeastern states led to the killings of innocent citizens. According to the witness, Kanu's orders directly caused the death of Sergeant Aldo Lucas, Private Glory Matthew, and Gulak. The witness further disclosed that the victims were not only killed but also beheaded by Kanu's followers, enforcing the sit-at-home directive. The witness also detailed how a coordinated investigation confirmed that the killings were carried out by Kanu supporters following his orders broadcast on Radio Biafra. The DSS witness also provided additional details about the widespread violence triggered by Kanu's broadcast. The witness claimed that Kanu's cause for violence included incitements to attack police officers and destroy public property. The testimony also revealed that Kanu's followers set fire to police stations in Sele and Ilasa, both in Lagos, and destroyed about 100 luxury buses owned by the state government. The prosecution's witness also presented evidence supporting the claim that Kanu founded both IPOB and its armed wing, the Eastern Security Network. Kanu's advocacy for the secession of southeastern Nigeria, including parts of Benue and Kogi states, was highlighted, as well as his calls for Biafra's creation by any means possible, including war. The court was shown a video recording of Kanu being interrogated by investigators, where he confirmed his role as the founder. Kanu acknowledged many inciting broadcasts, including comments during the EndSARS protest, but denied responsibility for the violence associated with the protest. Despite the witness claims, Kanu denied any involvement in the violent actions attributed to IPOB, describing the group as peaceful. He reiterated that the formation of ESN was a response to violence against the people of the southeast, particularly the inability to carry out economic activities like farming due to rising insecurity. According to Kanu, he says, "If our people cannot go to the farm and people are killed on their land, do you sit down and do nothing?" He remarked in the video. Kanu also faulted the manner of his arrest, criticizing the invasion of his residence by armed soldiers, which he claimed led to his fleeing the country for fear of being killed. He further condemned his subsequent arrest in Kenya and extradition back to Nigeria. At the conclusion of the prosecution witness's testimony, Kanu's defense lawyer, Paul Erukuru, requested an adjournment to prepare for cross-examination. Following agreement from both parties, Justice James Omotosho adjourned the case to May 14, 21, 22 in 2025 for further hearings. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has reinstated Julius Aburi as the national chairman of the Labour Party. Checks on the website of the electoral body show that Aburi's name has been relisted alongside Umar Farouk Ibrahim, who has been relisted as the national secretary of the party. INEC stated that the reenlistment of both leaders was in compliance with an order from the court. The Electoral Commission did not specify the exact basis of its reenlistment decision beyond reference in the court order. No matter of the party, and thus not subject to judicial intervention. Despite this, there has been ongoing contention regarding the legitimacy of his leadership. Well, you know that Abia State Governor Alex Otti and the 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi, along with other party members, have insisted on the validity of a caretaker committee led by Senator Nnamdi Usman. Following the Supreme Court ruling, they contend that the ruling effectively dismissed Aburi's position as chairman. Meanwhile, the governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, has announced that the All Progressive Alliance on Ending Violence Against Children at the presidential villa in Abuja. He was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima. He declared his administration's commitment to establishing a dedicated child protection and development agency to ensure coherent coordination relating to the Nigerian child. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment, obviously with more news. Do kindly stay with us. And kidnappings across the southeast geopolitical zone. Speaking further, he stated that the army also apprehended wanted gunrunner and kidnapped kingpin Buhari Umar, who was allegedly terrorizing Gombe, Bauchi, Plateau, and Kaduna states. Kangi, a local government area of Nasarawa state, he named the suspects as Hassan Mohammed, Saleh Sani, Idi Yusuf, Adamu Danmai, and Hassan Bello. General Kangi also disclosed that troops rescued 173 kidnapped hostages of DPK. I actually have right here via the telephone Barrister Fred Nzako, who is a political, national and social affairs commentator. Barrister Fred Nzako will be responding to some questions posed at him. Barrister Fred, good evening and thank you for joining us on the World News at 6 today.
Good Good evening and good evening to our dear listeners.
Thank you very much, Barrister Friday Ndako. Let's look at the situation where the Senate, all right, has passed all of the president's tax reform bills. A couple of persons will say this is a step in the right direction. A couple of persons will say, indeed, the reform bills are actually worth it, and whatever the permutations were all about, it's a right step in a good direction as the Senate has adopted most of the bills. How do you respond to this?
Could you do something about the audio?
Okay, I'm going to put you on speaker then. Right, Barrister, can you hear me now?
Yeah, very well.
All right, thank you very much. So I said something that the Senate has adopted, all right, or passed all of Tinubu's tax reform bills. And you know there were issues initially about the tax reform bills, on misconceptions. It means that indeed the tax reform bills are people-oriented. How would you react to this?
Well, the tax reform bill has had a long time in the Senate, had a long time in National Assembly. It generated a lot of furore, and that led to holding a lot of town hall meetings and a lot of consultations. And from all indications, the tax reform bills are people-centric. And from all indications, the tax reform bills will help to minimize the incidences or possibly eliminate the instances of multiple taxation that businesses and individuals complain against. And I think it is a good one that the bills have been passed into law, or rather the bills have been received the blessing of the Senate. We hope that there will be concurrent passage by the House of Reps, so that it will be signed into law by Mr. President, and most importantly, be implemented judiciously and with all responsibility. Because the experience we have in Nigeria is not a case of making the laws, but the challenges have been in implementing the laws, because irrespective of whether they are excellent or not, no law can be excellent because they are human conceptions. It's only the divinity or nature that is perfect. And for whatever infraction that we may notice, if we put our best practices to implement whatever we have agreed in our laws, the country will be getting better. So I think it's a good one. And then let's see it be completely passed and signed into law for implementation.
Our Barrister Fred, Nigerians that would say that this is a good news in terms of the fact that Nigeria has paid back all its outstanding debts owed to the International Monetary Fund and exited the list of debtors to the organization. Obviously, you know that the IMF's website disclosed it. As of 2023, Nigeria's debt profile with the International Monetary Fund was $1.61 billion, and the final installment of payment was done this month. Would we say now that the administration's economic policies will begin to work without the interference or suggestions of the IMF's plan or modus operandi of how Nigeria's economy can flourish? You recall that some economists believe that it's the IMF's advice that the administration has been working on, and it has not been helping whatsoever. The common man is not feeling the brunt or the effect of some of this policy implementation or policy advice. So now that Nigeria has exited the debt profile, does this stipulate that independently Nigeria can plan its economy without any external advice or any external influence? Meaning that since they're no longer owing the IMF, nobody can ask them to do something just because they borrowed money from them.
Even while we were owing IMF never forces us to adopt their policies and programs. What IMF does is more of advisory. They can give you advice and allow you as a sovereign entity to determine your fortune, determine the management of your economy, and determine how to manage your finances. IMF never forces you to do anything. The only time that there could be conditionalities is if there is a particular condition attached to a particular loan. Then you can now say there are conditionalities. But most of those conditionalities are essentially anchored on how the loans will be repaid. IMF is more of an advisory body and does not coerce any country to do its bidding or to take its program and policies, irrespective of whether it is fine for the country or not. They give you advice. You have your own people, you have your own experts. Now you can also come up with your own counter advice. a leader, you now determine which one to take and which one not to take. And that is by way of IMF. And the fact that we have finished paying IMF debt, does not mean that we are completely out of debt, because Nigeria borrows from the various multinational institutions and various nations, the one you call the Paris and the London Club of Creditors. So, and we also borrow from other countries and from other international organizations, including the African Development Bank and other agencies at the international level. So we still have very high debt profile. So nobody should go home, start dancing that, oh, we have exited our IMF debt, therefore we don't have any more debt. In fact, the debt owed to IMF is even one of the least. There are countries like China that we owe so much. We owe so much to African Development Bank. We owe so much to other Paris and the London Club of Creditors. So the debt profile is still very high. And when you also bring in the domestic debts, because we also owe domestically. So when you now, that is what now comes to close to 100 and something trillion naira. So we still have a very huge debt profile, but we still need to manage our finances very prudently, ensure that there are minimal wastages, and then enhance the optimal utilization of our scarce earnings and scarce resources. The more you
broadcast led to several individuals, including the ex-president's special advisor Ahmed Gulak. Also, during the second prosecution witness during the cross-examination revealed that Kanu's calls for sit-at-home orders in southeastern states led to the killings of innocent citizens. He said that Kanu directly ordered or caused the death of Sergeant Odu Lucas, a private, Glory Matthew, and Gulak. He disclosed that the victims were not only killed, but that they were also beheaded by Kanu's followers who were enforcing the sit-at-home directive. He also detailed how a coordinated investigation confirmed that these killings were carried out from Kanu's supporters. They provided additional details of the widespread violence triggered by his broadcast. Now, guess what happened? They also mentioned that Kanu's testimony revealed that the followers set fire to police stations in Saleh and Ilasa, both in Lagos, and destroyed about 100 luxury buses owned by the Lagos state government. Now, Kanu denied all of these claims. He said that why would he order for those things to be banned when Lagos state is not a Biafran state? Now, if you recall that the NSAS protest was tagged, they called it an Igbo protest because of what happened when obviously the protest was carried out by all Nigerians from different ethnic groups. But because of that incident, they linked it to the broadcast and said that it was an Igbo protest. How do you react to this? Nnamdi Kanu has distanced himself from that, saying that what happened in Lagos had nothing to do with him. He said that he did not ask anyone to destroy any property in Lagos. He also mentioned the fact that the broadcast did not necessarily necessitate.
Said they were not protesting. Quite a couple of others said they were not protesting. Quite a couple of others still protested in the north. And in the whole of southern Nigeria, there were protests against police activities because of the way they were handling the youth. And then it received international recognition. And the SARS was condemned to the extent that the agency was disbanded and replaced with what they call SWAT then. Whether the SWAT is still operational or whether SARS has come back in another disguise is a story for another day. But it is very shameful for any human being to begin to ascribe it to the Igbos. If in the course of NSAS protest things were damaged, as unfortunate as it was, it will be very bad for any human being to reason or say or even pretend to mean that these were Igbo protests. That is regurgitating the evils of the first military coup in Nigeria that happened on 15 January 1966, which was ignominiously and shamelessly tagged Igbo coup. Even when people knew exactly that it was obviously not an Igbo coup. Then Nnamdi Kanu had always said that he never had wanted people to sit at home. And anybody who is looking at issues with respect to the agitation for Biafra should separate the line between that drawn by Nnamdi Kanu and that drawn by Simon Eba. It's important important to know that. And Nnamdi Kanu has several times, even while in detention, said that he never called for sit at home. He never called for anything that will affect the life of the people that he was fighting for. And even when there was challenges of the unknown gunmen, we continue to ask the federal government through the agencies, the security agencies of the government, to pinpoint who the unknown gunmen were. And if the agencies of the federal government, all of them, Army, Air Force, Navy, SSS, National Intelligence, and the rest of them, the police, if they could not pinpoint who the unknown gunmen were, that means they just relapsed and went for to call a dog a bad name in order to hang it, and simply said they were IPOB officials. We needed them to be apprehended, and even when some were apprehended somewhere in Imo State, one of the men was found out to be an SSS official. When he was searched, and the identity card on him was that of an SSS. When he died in the gun battle with the military, and the government swept it under the carpet. So such narratives should not sway even the reasoning of the court. And anybody who is bringing such narrative does not love Nigeria. The challenges that we face today, challenge of insecurity that has been the main pain of Nigeria's current living, is one that should be taken seriously and not one that will be allowed to be politicized. I think what they are only trying to do is to politicize the insecurity situation in the country by calling a dog a bad name. And so every bad thing that happened in southern Nigeria, they will say it was Nnamdi Kanu. I think it's a very big shame for anybody to say so. Even when he has been in detention for the most part of since 2015, when he was arrested, he was in detention. When he was given bail, the same military chased him out of Nigeria, and he was apprehended and brought back in 2021, and has also been in detention ever since then. They should know what to tell Nigerians, because we are all not fools. We are listening, and we know where the water has passed under the bridge.
All right, Barrister Fred Nzako, like I asked you earlier, Nnamdi Kanu said that any involvement or activities of IPOB, or as they said, was organized in the southeast, that he doesn't have any involvement with that, and that IPOB cannot be associated with that because he said that IPOB is a peaceful organization. But in the same vein, he said again that anything that happened in Lagos is not attributed to him, despite the broadcasts having to simultaneously percolate or circulate at the time. He also faulted the manner of his arrest. He criticized invasion of his residence by armed soldiers, which he claims led to his fleeing the country for fear of his life taken by them. He further condemned his subsequent arrest in Kenya and extradition back to Nigeria. So Paul Erukuru, that is the defense lawyer of Nnamdi Kanu, requested an adjournment to prepare for cross-examination, and the trial will commence on May 14, 21 and 22, 2025. So, some analysts like yourself has said, is it possible for Nnamdi Kanu to apologize for the statements that were made, possibly in the heat of the moment, not necessarily intending for his broadcast to have elicited the reaction as alleged by this DSS official? Others have asked questions that if somebody asks you to put your hand in a fire just because you regard the person, would you go put your hand in a fire if you know that the fire will hurt you? So why ascribing his broadcast to certain elements that took place when he cannot directly be attributed to what transpired? How do you react to this situation?
It is the duty of the court to separate the wheat from the chaff. It is also the duty of the court to separate an utterance from an action. In most criminal adjudication, we are looking at actions. We are looking at causes and the effect. If Nnamdi Kanu made statements that some other accusers, why have they not apprehended those who committed the actions directly and physically? If the government is not doing well and we criticize the government, does it mean that any other person should go and go to Eagle Square and start to stone the seat of power? There must be a difference between action and words. Even though some people will now begin to argue, oh, what happened in between Hutus and Tutsis in what is our country in Kigali, in Rwanda, emanated from West, but that was on the realm of hate speech that did not emanate from one man. There is no way one man will sit anywhere and direct your action when obviously he does not control your life. And that is why we have always asked the security agencies to go straight to those who commit offenses and not to sit down and be looking at who said what. Because if you don't sit down and be looking at who said what, you're only looking for a low-hanging fruit. The crux of the matter is who has committed a particular infraction and who has committed a particular crime. Under the terrorist situation that Nigeria has been unfortunately experiencing since 2009, so many people have made statements that you could say were infuriating, but the government never went against them.
Can you recall when an Islamic cleric actually called for the assassination of the president's wife? Can you remember?
Islamic cleric made such a call. Was he arrested?
No, he wasn't
Some other
arrested.
cleric sometime even called that asked for the assassination of Mr. President when Jonathan was in power. Was he arrested? The people that the 400 names that were given to the federal government as sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria, was any of them arrested? These are all the basic things you should ask. And then the people that carry AK-47 openly, moving from one point to another, without any authorization or any authority from law, have they ever been arrested? And now you now say that one man will sit somewhere and he said, oh, go and apprehend Mr. President. And you say the man has committed a crime because he said, go and apprehend Mr. President. If we want to be lawful in a country, we do not want to make two laws, one for Mr. A and one for Mr. B. Nigeria should not be operating on two pendulums. You are swinging on the right against the people. You are swinging on the left in favor of the rich or in favor of some other people in the same country. There cannot be two laws for the same people in any environment, and you expect peace to reign. So I think what the court must look through is the separate statement from actions. Action is what is important in any criminal trial, and not statement. Statement could go into the realm of assault, realm of insult, and realm of a tortious act, and not issue of criminality.
Well,
the man who is found with the gun should answer for his crime.
Well, Nnamdi Kanu has actually distanced himself from what transpired based on the reported testimony of the DSS official. He said the movement that he leads, which is IPOB, is not violent, and that in a democracy people have the right to protest. He never ordered anyone to kill. He also asked about when he was asked about the attacks on public institutions and all of that, Kanu denied any direct connection, reiterating IPOB's philosophy of non-violence. Meanwhile, he's challenging the prosecution attempt to blame him for the death of Ahmed Gula, questioning the evidence linking IPOB to the incident. That's basically what his legal counsel is actually putting out there.
The police at then said that Ahmed Gulak was killed on his way from the airport in Imo State.
Yes. By
unknown gunmen.
Exactly.
Up to today, the government has not been identified.
So how come are they linking those unknown gunmen to IPOB? How are they linking that to him?
That is calling a dog a bad name in order to hang it. Unknown government does not mean IPOB, and IPOB does not mean unknown government. The security agencies have a responsibility to tell Nigerians who are the unknown government. They cannot be unknown for years and unknown permanently, only for them to turn around and say they are IPOB. The philosophy of IPOB is agitation without violence. And that was why when IPOB was declared a terrorist organization, the whole world laughed at Nigeria because the lies were very purpose and very open. And all over the world, there's no place where IPOB is recognized as such. It was only the wicked administration of President Muhammad Buhari that target IPOB, a terrorist organization. They are freedom fighters. They are agitators for self-determination. And they are not alone. There are other agitators in Yoruba land. There are agitators in the South. There are agitators in the North, in the Middle Belt. And there are agitators all over the country. And each agitator is entitled to his opinion and entitled to freedom of association. And it is the duty of the government to look into the agitation and solve whatever the agitation problems are and make Nigeria to remain one. Remember that some people that went to Ibadan about 2 years ago and hoisted the flag of a Yoruba group, of a Yoruba nation, and tried to sack the House of Assembly in Ibadan. What has happened to them? Can you call them?
They were arrested. They were arrested that very day. Maybe
where is the matter today? A lot of them have been let off the hook. The leader of that organization, Professor Banji Akintoye, was not arrested and nothing happened to him. And because he knows what he was talking about, we supported him then because of the fact that there must be freedom of association. We must negotiate our mutual existence as a nation. And that is why I keep telling Nigerians that if we fail to restructure this country, we may be driven to the point where there will be dismantling of the structure itself, and that will spell doom for the entity called Nigeria. The earlier we catch the black goat during the day before it gets dark, the better for this country.
Barrister Fred, the governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, has announced that the All Progressives Grand Alliance has officially adopted President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as its candidate for the 2027 presidential election. You know that the president visited Anambra State today for the commissioning of some projects, and the governor was the one who made the declaration at the Alex Ekweme Square in Awka during the president's working visit to the state on Thursday. So if ABGA, a very strong political party in Anambra State that has not shifted ground for any other political party to emerge whenever their governorship election takes place, and they are already subscribing and saying, you know what, we're defending President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for 2027. What does it tell you? Does it tell you that we have a one-party state, or does it tell you that there is no one opposing? All the governors are happy with the works of the president, and so Nigerians who are complaining are maybe just complaining but not seeing some possible insights into what the president is capable of doing?
Anybody who is conversant with the politics of Anambra State and who is conversant with the posturing of the governor of Anambra will not be disappointed with such adoption. Will not be disappointed with the fact that ABGA is lying on the same bed with APC as far as federal elections are concerned.
You think so?
Presidential elections. It didn't start today. It has been long in coming.
Wow.
ABGA has always been on the same bed with any government in power in Aso Rock. It didn't start today. When PDP was in power, ABGA was on the same bed with them as far as presidential election is concerned. And when APC took over, ABGA left PDP bed and went to the bed of APC. So nobody is surprised. So we knew for the governor to say it, he didn't say anything new. It's something that everybody knows. Everybody. So there's nothing new in that, and nobody would be worried. ABGA themselves know. The last election in 2023, who did ABGA work for? They had a presidential candidate, one Umade, one Justice Umade retired. But they were working for APC. They were working for APC, and they work for APC. And they will tell you openly that they will work for APC over and over again. Any day APC leaves Aso Rock, ABGA will change the alliance with whoever that will be there. So it's not a new thing. We are not even surprised. It's expected.
All right, Barrister Fred Nzako, thank you so much for taking your time to respond to these questions on the World News at 6. We sincerely do appreciate your input.
Many thanks.
All right. And that's a wrap of the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Up next at 7 o'clock will be the Evening Rush. Thank you for listening and stay with us.